My name is Tolu A. Akinyemi, Lion of Newcastle, also known as Tolutoludo. I am a Nigerian writer, and also an African writer as well. The cost of living is an all consuming current, and we are far adrift from the seashore. Cut your coat before your pockets fill up with salt water. I would like to pay homage to those great Nigerian writers who have come before me, who have told this part before me. The Achebes, the Shoyinkas, the Ofagunwa, Puchi, Emecheta, Elechi, Amadi, Cyprian Ekwensi, D. Ofagunwa, um, Ben Okri, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and Christopher Kigbo, J.P. Clark, and so many other great and renowned writers who have come, who have made this day possible as well. I come from a lineage of great writers. My paternal grandfather was a master storyteller, Akinyemi Alfred Uriola, and he also led a musical band as well. My maternal grandmother was a great storyteller who used to tell me a lot about, a lot of stories from the past about history while she was alive. And yeah, so I am the child of, great ancestry. My mother is a student of language, both the French language and the Yoruba language in southwestern Nigeria. And also, my father was a student of English and Literary Studies at the prestigious University of Ibadan in southwest Nigeria. So, these are the foundations that have made me into who I am today. I also pay homage to the Art Council England for their support for my literary talent because without them, possibly I wouldn't be here today in the United Kingdom. I pay homage to the city of Newcastle, the city of my shining star. The nickname Lion of Newcastle used to my first portrait collection. It came from that. Dead lions don't roar. And that book, whenever that portrait collection, whenever I performed from the book in town, the audience would, roar along with me, and it became like a sort of, tradition. Whenever I mounted the stage, everywhere filled with intense roars, everyone roaring, everyone. The sequel to that was Dead Dogs Don't Bark. We could see people barking like dogs, people meowing like cats. So it was like, a form of, a connection between myself and the audience. And later on, people start calling me, oh, the lion is here, the lion of Newcastle is here. And I think I've lived up to that billing, 22 books, multiple awards, a great stage performance. I've performed in some of the best stages across the Northeast England and elsewhere in the United Kingdom. And yeah, so I'm happy to be the Lion of Newcastle. This poem is titled Interest Rates from a collection of financial crime compliance poems, Architects of a Cleaner Financial System, a collection of financial crime compliance poems. And the fun fact is, I am the first poet in human history to write a full-length collection of financial crime compliance poems. I wrote this poem after the Bank of England increased interest rates for the 11th consecutive time by 0.25% to 4.25% on the 23rd of March 2023. The Bank of England dwells with inflation. Firecrackers, we are the remnants of the fireworks. The interest rate is a rising spring. Inflation is causing an uprising. The interest rate has grown tons, and we are green ons to this buffeting storm. The interest rate is on the rise. Inflation has swallowed sweet cravings, beating the brave, flattened fat wallets. The Bank of England wrestles inflation, and the casualties of these body blows are washed like sand onto the seashore. Favorite thing to write about, I think I write mainly about the human experience, but I think the summation of my writing comes from at the point it was the insanity, it was the chaos clouding my sanity, as in the case of Inferno of Silence, my award winning collection of short stories, where the book literally came out of nothing. It was just a normal day. I was going out with a woman who was dear to my heart, and some things happened on that day. In front of a mutual friend, and it was just like a combination of events that led to that. So it was like unplanned for. Black does not equal inferior was on the killing of George Floyd Jr. in the United States, and the whole world was outraged by the chaos. So my writings have always come from unexpected things, but mainly about the human experience. And through Black does not equal inferior, I created a mantra for the black community. As a black person, your blackness does not equal to being inferior. So I think just everyday occurrences, things that affect us all as humans. I've written a collection of poems on mental health challenges, which are universal to everyone. We all face issues in our day-to-day lives, and that book was used as a teaching resource at a prestigious university in Nigeria. So even out of all this, destruction, out of these realms, out of this chaos, have come beauty. When I was writing some of those poems, they were from a place of unrest, a writer who was grieving, a writer who was in pains, and to see them now being shining light. I've written a collection of poems on the train to hell, which was at a very difficult time when I was passing through a lot of emotions, and the book has come out to become a masterpiece. So I think I write a lot about the generality of the human experiences, things that affect us. Like in my, I've written the collection of poems, Architect of a Cleaner Financial System, where the poem Interest Rates, these are issues, cost of living crisis, these are issues affecting all of us. We all feel the pain, we all feel our spending power diminishing. So these are issues that connect us all. So I write things that my readers could connect with. I write my words, my stories, everything are things that we all face, the human experience, even though they've come from at various pain points in my own life, but they resonate a lot with those who read them. This poem is titled Pandemic of Empty Pockets from my collection of poems, The Money Cloud is Empty. Take a listen. Cut your coat to fit your deflated size. Cut your coat to the specifics of this pandemic of empty pockets. Inflation is a turbulent sea, tipping boats and sinking dreams. Cut your coat to cover your rising bills. Cut your coat as we trudge on this poverty hill. The cost of living is an all-consuming current, and we are far adrift from the seashore. Cut your coat before your pockets fill up with salt water. For the poem around pandemic of empty pockets, it's just just a way of talking around the cost of living crisis, and everyone is having to cut their costs. Whichever way, cut your coat to fit your deflated size, because we've all lost a lot due to the current cost of living crisis. And the poem Interest Rates is just our common reality. Interest rates have spiked for a long time now, and as a writer who fits a lot of the human experience, who writes a lot about things that affect people in society, things that connect all of us, I feel like those are important poems to share. Those are important words that would resonate with people out there. We are all in this together, and I feel everyone's pain in as much as they are also my own pain as well. For my writing process, I would say it's more like undefined. It's more of like spontaneous. I'm a writer who feeds a lot on spontaneity in the times, in the way I get my ideas, in the ways I get my, the inspiration for my writing. Like as an example, when like the collection of short stories I mentioned earlier, Inferno of Silence, the writing process just happened out of an event that occurred. So it wasn't like it was planned. So Black does not equal inferior. Most of the time, most of the poems that made up that collection was written while running, while doing my morning exercise routine. So while running, I'm with my phone, the ideas are flowing. I could pause at times, put them on my phone. When I get back home, put some ideas on my phone. Everybody don't colo mental. My collection of mental health poetry was written at the dead of the night while everyone slept. So these books, they are, the inspiration, the way, the process that culminates in the final materials differ in the way, in the way the thoughts are crystallized onto the page. So it's not, I'm not a writer that says write 100 words every day, write 1,000 words every day. I feed a lot off on spontaneity. I feed a lot off on when the ideas come. And when the ideas come, I'm like a well of water, a well of fresh water flowing. So I think that's just the process. So there's no set process to say, oh, put on the laptop or type in the Word document. And most times I've used my phone just to like as a start of the process, to bring the words down to the page. So I think the main advice I would give to anyone who would like to go into telling stories, writing is that writing comes with a lot of vulnerability, and that's a personal quote of mine as well. Writing comes with a lot of pain. It comes when you open up your thoughts, your ideas to the world. You open yourself up for criticism. You open yourself up, for people to peep into your life. There are times people pick up a book of any of my books and say, "Oh, that is writing about himself. He's writing about his wife. He's writing about his family." But that might not be the case. It could be imagination. It could be it's work of fiction, just imaginary things. Writers are gods. They, creators. We see things that people don't see. So you must come to a place that people would make assumptions about your writing. People can transpose it into their own personal lives. They can interpret it in whichever way they deem fit. But it's not in your place as a writer to explain. Let the mystery, the mystery behind the writing, let it be for the writer, for the reader to interpret the words, to let it resonate with them, the way they so please. And also for writers, a lot of people come into writing believing that they will be the next Stephen King, the next J.K. Rowling, but be passionate about it. Don't do it because you want to be the next bestseller, because a lot of writers don't sell many books. Many do not sell up to 100 books in their lifetime. So if you are coming into writing believing that you are going to become a millionaire, it will be a big fat dream. But do it for the love of it, do it for the passion. And yeah, the world is your oyster. This poem is titled Mortality from my poetry chapbook, Voyage. I have fallen in love with my mortality, accepted its terms and conditions like those who came before, those who came before. One day, these beautiful chapters will be forever closed, told as a folklore, and I will be buried in Newcastle upon Tyne, the city of my shining star. I will lay like a log, clutching at my books in solitude. The atmosphere will be thick with roars, intense like thunder and poetic renditions. My tombstone will read, The Lion of Newcastle, a beautiful author story. A statue will be erected in my honor in my hometown. I have love for myself. I have come to grips with my mortality, and I no longer fear death. Mortality speaks to the fact that all of us, we as humans, we need to accept the terms and conditions that comes with life, which is death. The moment we are born, we are running, we are in a circle that leads to death. So mortality looks at the nature of life, the fleeting nature of life, and just accepting death. No longer to be like for us not to be in fear of death, and just come to terms with the fact that with life comes death, and that is a fate, that is a cross of every man. Yeah, this poem I'm reading is titled Peak from my collection of poetry for young people. You need more than dreams. And this poem is a response to the prevalence of knife crime amongst young people, and it's a kind of message to educate them and sensitize them about making the right choices. Take a listen. If you ask me my pick, whether knife or life, I will take and pluck from the tree of life. There is no substitute for living, not even a twin can take its place. There is no medal of honor for crime, for serving time. Today is a still mirror, and tomorrow the moon is kissing darkness. My skin flakes at the thought of spreading violence. No, when they ask you whether knife or life, pick the splendor of living, for this fire blazing, even eyes cannot quench. And for the poem that I read around peak, yes, just an admonition for young people, especially in a society where we see a lot of young people die because of knife crime. It's a poet, a seer, a writer telling the young person out there that if you have to make choices, make good choices. Shun gang violence, shun gang wars. Let your pick be life. So that's the idea behind that. Before I became a writer, I was first a reader. I talked about my father who studied English at the English and Literary Studies at the University of Ibadan in southwest Nigeria. And we used to have a lot of books in the house, so I used to be a vociferous reader back in secondary school, in high school. I had a community of friends where we would swap books, read books. I used to love journaling as well. I used to read a lot of historical books. I used to read a lot of political books as well. So I think I started out being a reader first before becoming a writer. So I owe being a writer to being a reader, and I owe it to all of the support system I've had from family, having books at home. I used to read newspapers, read every section. I used to be so fascinated with reading. So I guess it's not a surprise that today I'm also a writer because I used to love the emotions. I used to get into the feelings of the characters. Their pain used to be my pain. So I think it's just a natural thing that after all the years I've invested into reading, today I'm also a writer of great acclaim. The famous Deadline Story. Yeah, that was my first poetry collection. And I felt at that point in time, I knew there were a lot of great people, great talents who have passed on to the great beyond, who have not let out their own unique roles. And I felt that was like a very unique title. eh, like it's a title that speaks volume. And yeah, so Daylight Story is a collection of inspirational poetry that speaks to everyday, day-to-day issues affecting us all in society, be it mental health issues, positivity. So it's a collection of poems that breathe inspiration on every facet and just challenging us to be better in every way. And I'm proud of that collection because it kind of like opened the way for me. And I think at that time as well, when I released the Lionstone Road, a lot of literary icons in Northeast England They were like, "Oh, Tolu is going to be the next big thing on the circuit. Tolu is destined for greatness." How that was going to happen, how that would have morphed into tangible results, I wasn't even sure. But everyone felt like, yes, this was a unique voice who had arrived in the Northeast literary scene. And I think that title also did its own fair share of paving the way for me. The more I wrote, the more I grew in confidence. I performed at the Playhouse on Whitley Bay to an audience of about 600 people, and that night was amazing. Everyone was roaring, and it was so much fun. And I think that book has gone on to like, yeah, open up the way for me. And yeah, and people still, even when I go to time out, there are times I go to time out market to sell my books, and people say, "Oh, we'll go for the first book, we'll go for the Lionstone," and that gives me a lot of excitement. Even after all these books, people still resonate with the book, they still love it, and because without the Lionstone rule, I'm not sure if I would have become the Lion of Newcastle. The totality of our being, it's, the mental health, for the physical health to be fine, for the emotional health to be fine, everything depends on the mental health. For you to write a book, for you to live a happy life, everything depends on the mental health. And I feel like a lot of people in society are facing a lot of mental issues, mental challenges, and that book speaks to to the mental well-being of people. It tells us that these challenges are not just peculiar to you; these are universal challenges. It's okay for men to cry. It's okay for people to go through issues. It's okay not to feel okay. And these are not just like peculiar issues. And I think the high point of that was, like I said earlier, the book being used to teach medical students about the importance of mental health, and also used to deliver a case study around the benefits and the importance of mental health and our well-being. So I feel like it's very important that these conversations we have then, when we talk about, our mental health, how are you doing? Are people around us, are they okay? Because these challenges are universal in nature. So, because as a writer, I have a lot of crazy ideas, and I just talk to my wife about them, so she knows me as well. This guy is very eccentric, very crazy. You might just come up with one very random, one very crazy and random idea. So one Saturday morning, I believe I just mentioned to her that I want to write a collection of financial crime compliance poems, and she was like, "Oh, come off it." She was like, "Come off it, oh, not again." Just be the idea, not again. And I said, "No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." Then I went online. Has anyone done something like this before? No. I know I wrote a financial crime, a single poem in the Lionstone role, but I felt like, oh, this is also my chance to like make history, students of financial crime, critics of financial crime, people who are looking to get into a career in financial crime. This could be like, the pace setting book within the industry. I've been in this industry for over 10 years. I've paid my dues. I'm a poet of great repute. If there's anyone who can do this, then it has to be me. I swung into action. I started writing, covering a lot of themes within financial crime compliance, anti-money laundering, know your customer, the point I read earlier, interest rates, sanctions, financial scams, in terms of educating the people around, phishing emails, people trying to get your money off you. So just if as on customer onboarding, periodic reviews, even I had like so many funny points, like just being comical, people trying to evade tax and all of that, tax evasion, and covering a multiplicity of topics. So I felt like if anyone could do it, it had to be me. And the book has been received, very well received, and I'm happy I did that because at times it could be crazy. Even I think the more crazy the idea is, then the better it is for us as writers to just go for it, because you never know, you could be bringing out something that even for generations to come, becomes a reference point. And yeah, I'm so proud of that book. Yeah. I was accepted as into the New Writing Not Incubator program, and this has given me the opportunity to work with like young people, on every Saturday. So I did the workshops for about 4 weeks. Then currently doing the placement program, just shadowing work of people already like mentors already on the program. And yeah, so but in terms of I have a novel that's a work in progress, and yeah, and I have a collection of a non-fiction book for young people as well. They are just like work in progress for me. But at the moment, 22 books. I feel like I'm a semi-retired writer at this point. I'm not under any form of pressure to say I want to release any book. Yeah, so but I think one fun fact I would like to share in 2019 at the Lit and Field during the launch of Dead Cats Do Meow, I was sounding off philosophical, and that was my fourth book at the time. I said, "Oh, if that was my last book, I've paid my I've paid my dues. I've laid my imprint on the sands of time. I was sounding all elated. I've achieved a lot." That was four books at that time, and today here we are, 22 books. So even though I say, "Oh, work in progress," they don't really matter at this time. Don't be surprised. In years to come, we hear I'm already on 30 books. I think it's very important for young people to be involved because the teenage years, the formative years are the years, the impressionable years where people have to make choices. What am I doing? Is it alright? Peer pressure. Where are the role models in the society? Who am I looking up to? What kind of information am I, feeding into my soul? I've been there. I've been through it as a young person myself, and I believe that it's very important that we tell them what's the benefits of social media, what are they getting disturbed by what they see online. So I think it's very important to like communicate this to young people, tell them that gang wars. No, no, it's not like poetry that advises, but poetry that opens up their mind to imagine as well, to see the kind of world they want to build, the kind of things they want to achieve. And I think you need more than dreams, as being able to communicate that effectively. And I hope every young person out there is also able to like, take a cue from that, make the best of their formative years, their teenage years, try and be the best version of themselves. These stories, if we don't, first of it leads to erasure, it leads to false representations as well. So I think it's very important that as writers and as a Nigerian who, growing up, I've seen a lot of injustice in growing up in the society. I've seen a lot of corruption. I've seen a lot of things that have been wrong in the society where I grew up. I felt as a writer, I had to use my voice to speak out, to enunciate the issues that affect people in my society. And yeah, so I think it's just a natural thing for me. I think it's always very important for us to document this because for a writer's place is to document, observe, and recount history to ensure that it's not watered down here. So I think it's very important. Like I said, I work with young writers and I see how I'm also like enthralled when I see young people in those writing groups, writing stories, writing poems, and I already tell them if I can do it, then you also can do it. And these are like positive energies that we can tell our young people, help them to build upon, to bring out, to become, use those talents because they all have the hidden gems. Unravel those hidden gems, awaken those inner lions because dead lions don't roll. So when they have the chance, the opportunity, they should, So I think as a writer who has been through that stage of life, I think it's very important that we tell our young people as well to shun knife crime, to stop killing each other, because there's no medal of honor for I'm a writer who thrives on daring it all. I like to speak truth to power, and I believe as a writer, we don't have to coming from where I come from. I don't have to hide. I don't have to hide After all, in the poem Mortality, I no longer fear death, so these stories must be told. And I'm happy I'm a voice. I'm a voice in my generation to be able to tell the stories. And I pay homage to Newcastle, the city where I had my first ever performance in the United Kingdom, and that was at the Exchange in Newcastle. I pay homage to the community of writers who sheltered me in the days the nights were forlorn. I am Tolu A. Akinyemi, the Lion of Newcastle. Thank you.